Hi guys, it's Shishka Barber 1 coming right back at you with an all-new Boom Beach video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Warships deck. This season is over. That's not the point of this video. This video is all about the ramp bug. I'm sure you guys have encountered it many times, and it's my hope to explain it in this video. The ramp bug is the process of things just not lining up or things not visually appearing the way they should when they're on the ramp. You know how a lot of people like to say the world is flat? Well, it's not, but the Warships deck is. Okay, keep that in mind as we explore this fun, fascinating journey. Have you ever noticed, like in my last video, for instance, that I throw things in really weird positions? Notice where the flare goes.
But whatever. Time's not a real factor, but let's just get moving anyway. It is for the length of the video. Okay, get a flare.
You see that? How on earth do I throw a flare out there? Also notice that the critters are going to go on that exact same location. They'll be thrown on that exact same location.
Critters. Oh my gosh.
Well, the little appearance was right there, but it was quick. It was right above where the flare marker was. But notice something else. The critters don't actually land out where the flare is. Whoa. What's that, ladies and gentlemen? Look at that. Where'd they land? They landed at the bottom right of the ramp. But I threw them right where the flare was. How on earth does that happen? Well, that's the ramp bug, okay? Let's get into the geometry behind it all. So, I think this is where I want to be. Yeah, so this was the picture, right? This was the flare that's out apparently in the water, but yet that apparently makes critters spawn at the bottom right of the ramp. So, let's do some basic geometry, shall we? Like I said, Warships is flat, okay? Everything takes place on the plane of the Warship's deck. Like, you know, where all the defenses are. Everything maps to that. If you see a unit at that position, X and Y, then that's where all the abilities go. Like, that's where if you heal him, that's where you throw a med kit. It's right on top of him. Like, where you see him is where he maps to, and it's a one-to-one correspondence. It's no problem. It makes sense. Where things get messed up is when they're on the ramp, because things are not where they appear. Things are actually being mapped to the warship plane, okay? And they're just being projected onto the ramp. So what that means is you've got to use a bunch of parallel lines to figure out where you actually are on the warship plane when you're on the ramp. So this little box that I constructed with the pink lines consists of like 3 sets of parallel lines on this image. Starting with the vertical line. You see this line here and here, these vertical lines. We simply just take a line and extend it straight up from the edge of the ramp, okay? And this is the vertical line. Now, these lines that run out from the deck, these are parallel with the with that dimension on the deck. It's like, for instance, the little line that's right on the edge of the ramp here, you see the direction that little light blue line is headed? It's the same direction as the pink line, okay? It's parallel to this direction. This would be the forward back direction looking from the ramp, okay? And then the last set of parallel lines are the ones that go left right as looking from the ramp. It's these 2 parallel lines, all right? This set of 3 parallel lines forms the cage that we're going to be working in, all right? And now the really important aspect is the top face of this cage or of this cube. Okay, the top face of the cube is bounded by these 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, do you see this? It's like a rectangle, but it's not. It's really a parallelogram. But this parallelogram, bounded by these 4 points, is actually the ramp. Okay, everything within this parallelogram maps to the entire ramp. So, for instance, if you look at the corner where these 3 parallel lines meet at this bottom right corner of the ramp, this maps to the bottom right corner of the ramp. And coincidentally, that's the same location I threw the flare and I threw the critters. But lo and behold, it effectively maps to the bottom right of the ramp. So I throw the flare there because that's where I want my troops to start. I throw the critters there because I want them to start on the bottom right of the ramp. So, how do you map things, okay? How does any of this make sense, right? That's great if you want to throw something at the bottom right of the ramp because you can just kind of remember where that spot is. All right. But let's say you have something where the yellow dot is on the screen. All right. Let's say your troops are there. And let's say you need to medkit them because they're taking a lot of damage. The question is, where do you throw that medkit? Well, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is you throw it on the white dot. All right. But how do we map that white dot? Well, let me see if I can explain this to you. Okay, the first thing we need to do is figure out where along the line of these, the construction line up here with the yellow and black dash, where along the line do we line up with? Okay, so this yellow dot lines up on this black and yellow construction line based on the path of the green line. I know a lot of lines, folks, but just bear with me. This green line is parallel to the edge of the ramp. You see the edge of the ramp down here where I'm touching, folks? You see the direction that this blue edge is traveling in? Well, that's the exact same direction this green line is traveling in, okay? Those two are parallel. And you can take the green line, trace it up from the location of your troop, and this marks the location that we need to now project back from, all right? So right now, we've gone from the yellow dot. We've taken the green line projection up to the top of the ramp, and now we're sitting right here where this blue and green line meet. Now the blue line, ladies and gentlemen, is just a parallel line to the boundaries of the cage, all right? The blue line is the same thing as these pink lines that form the boundary of the cage. It runs in the exact same direction. They're all parallel, okay? Now, then we just take this blue line, extend it out, and finally, to figure out where on the blue line the white line lines up with, we use one more line. We use the red line. The red line, of course, is vertical, and it's parallel to these lines that bound the cage. Where the red line meets the blue line, that intersection is where you need to throw the med kit, because this is the point on the screen that maps to the yellow point, all right? Everything's a projection. Everything takes place on the warship plane, and then things that occur on the ramp are merely projected down to the ramp, and they're projected straight down by a vertical transformation. You can just take things and vertically project them up from the ramp, and where they pierce the plane of the warship is where that troop is actually located. That's where abilities need to be thrown to support that troop, all right? So hopefully that makes sense. I don't think I have any other visual aid. So, I mean, looking at this photo, you can see, I mean, that flare in this photo is pretty much where the cage lines up. It would be at this corner in the cage. Maybe not the best photo, but I hope that makes sense. And that this works for both ramps, all right? Let me get back to the warship. This absolutely works for both ramps. Now, unfortunately, last season, I don't think we had many ramps, or there was only one that came out from the front, so I don't have a visual for you right here. But the same thing applies when you have a ramp that comes off the front of the ship. The geometry is just kind of like turned around 90 degrees, okay? But you have the same problem, and you can construct it with the same methodology, just using the sets of parallel lines. All those lines are parallel to the lines that form the deck of the warship. Okay, and yeah, that's about it. I won't confuse you with the fact that they use 2-point perspective shortening and stuff like that on how they actually do this projection. We'll just assume that everything's an isometric projection, which is not. But it's a good enough assumption to get you to where you need to go, to line up your abilities and to throw them where they need to go. So there it is, folks. I hope this series of lines and dots helps you to understand the ramp bug. So please let me know in the comments below if it's not clear to you, if you have any more questions or whatever, and hopefully this kind of clears it up. So keep this in mind as you're playing your game, because you need to be throwing things on the white dot when you're trying to support the yellow dot. And, you know, these things change. Obviously, the closer you are to the top of the ramp, the closer you are up here, the error is minimized. The white dot approaches the yellow dot as you approach the top of the ramp. Okay, that just makes sense. But when things are, you know, it's more exacerbated when you're trying to do stuff at the bottom of the ramp. That's where you really see these huge differences, okay? So just keep that in mind. I hope that helps. So with that, I'll wrap it up. Hope you have a super fantastic, awesome rest of your day. And remember, like always, be kind to others. Because if you're not, you're just being mean, and mean people suck. Take care.